Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about Ivanka Trump's testimony in the fraud trial currently underway in New York, brought by Letitia James. Okay, it was interesting in a number of ways. It was not so eventful as actually I had predicted. And in fact, if you had just sort of wandered into the courtroom, you might have thought it was pretty dull, kind of just paper case. But there's some important points and lessons here. First, as many have noted, the whole tone changed. Ivanka decided to at least play a grown-up. She was prepared. She was soft-spoken. She was kind of responsive. I'll get a little bit more to that. And she wasn't confrontational. So, that's more the sort of Ivanka brand. And in that sense, she's really pointedly separated herself from Trump and the whole family. And, she had after the election, she pointedly went her own way. So that's first. And then second, though she didn't get her backup, she did do, I think, all she could not to harm her dad and brothers. And the main way she did it was with a pretty prolific use of I don't recall answers. There were a lot of things that seemed fairly basic. And she portrayed herself, however, as very involved in these transactions. The reason she was there, she was deeply involved before the election, dating back to 2011, in the relationships giving rise to a big beach club, the Doral Club in Florida, and the old post office, which became Trump Tower in D.C. And those are both projects that require Trump to submit financial statements that the AG is arguing are false. So when it came to the specifics of that being done, even when confronted with certain emails, she played, I don't recall, as much as she could. Third and most important, though, nevertheless, she filled in a very important piece of the puzzle, and there was really no way for her to wriggle out of this bit. In her role as overseer of those projects, she's definitely involved in getting loans from Deutsche Bank. And what happened here, and it's one of the central schemes in the whole case, is they were able to deal with Deutsche Bank's so-called private wealth group, and that's its special group for super duper duper rich folks. And that matters here because it looks as if Trump is maybe just super duper or just super, and he lied and inflated his net worth. I'll explain that in a second. But she really is the one who kind of makes the connection and knows about it. And so the things that she not that she testified so much to, but she affirmed through emails were really important. So, and let me spell it out a little. There is a woman named Rosemary Vrablik. She's the one who runs this little division of Deutsche Bank for the super uber rich. And Ivanka is the one who, on Jared Kushner's recommendation, first makes the bridge to Rosemary Vrablik. And then Rosemary says to them they can offer much better rates. However, it requires Donald Trump to make certain personal guarantees, like he has enough cash to cover all kinds of things, operating expenses, principal and loan, but also that he has a certain overall net worth. They were going to peg it at $3 billion. Here was a telling point. Ivanka said, couldn't we say 2 billion? So obviously she knew that, saying 3 billion was pressing the facts. He eventually wound up saying 2.5. He said 4 billion, but I think the what he had to minimally promise to was 2.5 billion. Either way, I'm betting that the AG can prove that he didn't have that kind of money. And so what Ivanka does here is make it unmistakably clear that you needed to, in order to get these loans, to file these financial statements. She got really murky on what statements and what were the exact details, but it was clear that you can't deal with this Rosemary Vrablich's group and therefore get the much better loans unless you can promise in your financial disclosures that you have several $billions in assets. So that's what Donald Trump did. And if it was false, that itself is going to be a down the middle violation of one of the counts of the complaint. And just more generally, it shows a very clear scheme that even if she's not a guilty participant in, it doesn't matter. Oh, a big point that I've mentioned before, and just to reaffirm, she's not a defendant now. She was. The complaint sets out a lot of stuff about her in paragraphs 33 and 34, but they were old conduct, and she was able to get out from by statute of limitations argument. But the old conduct still really matters. It's true that this relationship was first established in 2011, but year in, year out, he had to continue, did Donald Trump, to make these promises that turn out to be false, I'm sure, as alleged by the New York AG. So even though there's no dramatic patricide moment of Ivanka slipping the knife in, she is forced to explain a part of the puzzle that we wouldn't, I think, be otherwise know so clearly. Why it is that Trump has to submit these statements, why we know the bank is really relying on these statements, and why, assuming they were false, it something that really mattered. It's just really matters. Is a shorthand for material, which you do have to show these lies, where he wasn't just lying about his weight or whatever. He was lying about his net worth to a bank. All right, little interesting postscript on Rosemary Vrablich. Turns out she apparently didn't disclose to her higher ups at Deutsche Bank that she was doing some of these loans. And there was an internal investigation, and she was permitted to resign. So basically, it's just some weird little home cooking that Ivanka was able to get Rosemary to do. And some of the best email traffic is her reaching out to Rosemary, her getting the possibility of this loan and telling the group we should jump on this ASAP. It's as good as it gets. And then when there was another offer, she said, "You're the best, Rosemary." So obviously she's exulting at the lower loans, and everything's hunky-dory, except to get them, he has to lie about his net worth, which is what happens. One final postscript. She gave one answer that is hard to fathom and seems perjurious, but there must be, there may be a way she's technically parsing it. But after all this stuff and the evidence that I summarized, she was asked, so was it your understanding that you needed to deal with this Rosemary Vrablich group rather than the normal commercial real estate group in order to get lower interest rates and origination fees, another break that they received? And Ivanka said no. Just simply. Now, something's off there. It's clear she did know it. Maybe she has a private interpretation, and, I don't think they would. It would be pretty extreme with everything they have to focus on to go after her for perjury. But something seems quite funky about that answer. Anyway, it doesn't obscure the truth of it, because they're not relying on her to sort of finger the boys and her dad. It's real. She's a fact witness, and the facts to which she's testifying just have to do with getting these much better deals and needing to get them to make certain financial representations And that's what she does. And then there's the whole separate point, which they'll prove that it was false. And then, so you combine that, and it's a pretty damning picture of a central part of the scheme. Okay, so there you go. She was the last witness for the New York AG, who's now rested. What happens today, I talked about this yesterday, is in any case, you could show a videotape of the defendant doing a murder, and the defense would still argue at the end of the prosecution's case that you should dismiss the case because the proof has been wanting. That here that's a joke. Of course, there's enough proof, but they're going to spend that half a day or whatever making those arguments. They'll be denied, and then we'll pick up Friday, tomorrow, and it looks as if maybe the first witness for the defense, Eric Trump, back on the stand with their own things that they want to get him to say. Okay, so ending with Ivanka Trump, uneventful kind of, and certainly uneventful in sort of electricity and controversy and just eyebrow-raising arrogance, just, that way, very smooth, and a lot of I don't recalls, but a very key part of the case where she really explains why he had to, and it really mattered, make representations about his net worth, and indeed he went and did them. We know that as well, and repeated them year after year. So I think that's going to be a pretty good, strong part of Justice Engoron's opinion when it comes out in 3, 4, 5 weeks, and that everyone, including me, anticipates is going to absolutely clobber Trump, the boys, the Trump organization, and everybody else who's charged in the case. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.